I don't know if you've heard, but there's big trouble in Little China. There's lots of fake movie news, but right here on the movie show, we got red pill, blue pill, and my daughter should take them. And but this is gonna be a tremendous show, tremendous.
You talking to me?
Here it looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. Why so serious?
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hello and welcome to the movie show. This week, due to the American presidential election, we've got a politically themed show. We got all sorts of fun stuff coming up.
Which I'm gonna win, folks. I'm gonna win this election. You know, it's gonna be great.
This guy, I can't believe this guy. It's just not the way to carry on, Dave. Just not the way.
But you're just the worst presenter I have ever seen.
You
ever.
are the worst presenter this show has ever had.
No, I'm tremendous. I'm tremendous.
Come on, man. Anyway, let's get on with the show.
We kick things off with What Have You Been Watching, where we talk and analyse some of the films we've been checking out this week. So, Greg, what have you been watching?
Well, due to the very sad news of Sir Sean Connery passing away, I thought I'd watch one of his films, so I cracked the old DVD of Outland out. Have you ever seen Outland?
Oh, yeah, classic film.
Yeah, sci-fi thriller directed by Peter Hyams, based on one of the moons of Jupiter, I believe, Io, where there's a mining colony and they're mining for titanium or something like that. And there's Peter Boyle is like the manager of the operation there, and there's a bit of corruption going on there. So Sean's got to deal with that. And there's also a really bad drug problem. Some of them are like juicing themselves up on this crazy amphetamine, and Stephen Burkhoff's in there doing one of his crazy turns as one of the junkies. And yeah, it's a good bit of fun, bit of space fun. So I thought, you know, with Sean popping his clogs, really, I thought it'd be a good movie to watch, you know. Yeah,
it's a classic film, isn't it? And it is exactly that. It's something a bit different from Connery at the time, and one of them kind of wacky space adventures from back then. That it's really good fun.
And I think Peter Hyams had like a bit of a reputation for doing those sci-fi things. I think he did the sequel,
absolutely,
the sequel to 2001. He did 2010, the year we made contact. So, yeah. What about you, mate? What have you been watching?
Well, I thought, you know, as it's a political week, I thought I'd check out some political films. So I watched a few, but the one I picked out really was The Post.
Oh, yeah.
Which came out a few years ago, which was the Spielberg film with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
I have previously written a review of this on the website, which you can check out, moremovies.co.uk. But so it's a great film based on the Washington Post in 1971 when the Pentagon Papers got leaked.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the whole thing about whether they're allowed to publish them. There's the battle between the courts, and obviously it really follows the journalists as they kind of battle with the owners of the newspaper and friends in high places and the courts themselves to go, can we put out information that they regard as in the public interest, as they would say.
Sure.
But tremendous film. Meryl Streep's fantastic in it, with a really great performance of someone who is obviously a hereditary heir and quite powerful in one way, but a woman who's very vulnerable to the sexism of the time.
Sure.
And so really great performance, and a great political film that still resonates to this day, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just really good fun. And it's interesting, isn't it, because we talked about this before, how it's kind of like almost a prequel to All the President's Men.
Well, that's it. It's set in the Washington Post, and you know, that Watergate scandal came out just after the Pentagon Papers thing, so that kind of laid the way for them to be able to report about the Watergate scandal, I suppose. So freedom of the press, really important stuff, especially like you said nowadays, where we've got this questioning of the press and what's going on there. So yeah,
absolutely.
I haven't actually seen that one myself yet, even though I have read your excellent review of it, but I've been meaning to. It's there on our collection. I'll be catching up with that myself soon.
Yeah, highly recommended for everyone. But some couple of great films there that we've been watching this week, I guess. So Next up, it's the movie of the week, where we pick out a film that's been recently released or is important in the news for some reason. And this week we've picked out Borat 2, or as it's officially known, Borat's subsequent movie film, Delivery of Prodigious Bride to American Regime for Make Benefit Once Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. Now that's a mouthful.
Wee-wah, woo-wah. High five.
High five.
Sorry to hear that.
High five!
It was released on Amazon Prime last week. The film, of course, stars Sacha Baron Cohen in the titular role again, alongside Maria Bakalova this time as his daughter. So we checked it out this week. Greg, what did you think?
Well, geez. Let me give it a little bit of context, because I really am a fan of Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he has produced some stuff that is hilarious at some points over his career. I really used to love the Ali G show, and I think that's where Borat started. It was kind of like an insert in that show. He used to do it as one of his other characters, and obviously that's grown into its own sort of thing now when he did the first movie, and there was so much controversy around that. I really enjoyed the first movie. I thought it was very brave and really funny, but like with a lot of these characters, it kind of suffers from, once you know who he is, because he's pretending to be this character, and once you know that, it's kind of like blows his cover in a way. So I felt that with Borat 2 there was so much more kind of stuff that was dramatized to look like it was actually happening, but it was obvious that it wasn't. And within the first 10 minutes I was groaning a bit, to be honest. I thought, oh god, I don't know if we're going to get through this. But to be honest, as it went on, there was a few laughs. There was a few laugh out loud moments, but as I say, my major problem with it was there was, ironically, a lot of it that was really quite fake. So I felt like it wasn't quite as, like with a lot of sequels, it was a bit more of the same but watered down. I don't know. Yeah,
I think we talked about this before the film came out, about the kind of, is this a product of its time? Will it really work because people know him, kind of thing? So there was kind of that hesitation we kind of knew about, I guess.
Yeah.
And they did address it in the film, of course, early on, when he was kind of going around and going, people know me, and he was looking for costumes and stuff. So it was a kind of an inside nod to what we were all thinking, I guess.
Even that was a little bit fake, though, I thought.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Chase him up the street.
And I agree. I think that was the bit that was kind of like almost annoying in the film, like deciphering what's real here and what's been acted, and it was kind of frustrating. And there is all kinds of problems with it, like we've said, in terms of it's a sequel, it feels a bit dated, the plot's very loose and strange, and it doesn't really go anywhere, and there's all those kind of problems. But ultimately, like I think you were saying, that there was moments in there where I laughed out loud, audibly, quite a few times, because there is actually some very good jokes in there, and I guess that's the point of a comedy movie.
It's still revealing. Some of it's still shocking when he gets her to write on the cake, "Jews will not replace us," and she just smiles and puts it on the cake.
Just does it. Yeah.
I just thought that is so shocking. Really, I mean, it's funny, but it's kind of not funny. It's also quite shocking in a lot of ways, and there was some funny bits in it. I mean, at first I almost turned it off. I thought, God, I don't know if I can get through this, because the cringe factor is usually rather high anyway. And I thought, is this just going to be a piece of crap? But I stuck with it, got through it. Also wrote a review on the website. Check out moremovies.co.uk. You can check out my review of it there for any more detailed analysis of it. But you're right. There were some moments I did laugh out loud. There was some funny stuff in there, but not as much as the first one. And I felt like the first one there was more unexpected stuff. There was more realism to it in a way, whereas this time, like I say, it felt a bit fake. I thought the daughter played a very good role, because she was,
she was brilliant. Yeah,
she was pretty good in it. And there were certain scenes, where he takes her for the plastic surgery consultation. And they were talking about certain things in there that I almost felt like she was laughing at Baron Cohen at some point, almost, like holding back the laughter, and you could see why, because it was an incredibly funny scene. But
yes,
but yeah, I don't know whether he's he's laboured that one a little bit too much or not. But
I think possibly, but the one thing I came away with it feeling was, there was all kinds of problems, but, I was thinking, well, I did laugh and there was some very good pointed jokes in there. And I kind of felt the one thing that came away from it was in this kind of post-truth era, as people call it, this current climate of politics, it's perhaps what's needed, even if it's not the best satire in the world.
Sure, yeah.
At least it's some actual dark, pointed satire that can say something. And in the end, the biggest thing it did, as I think you kind of said there, that it did expose the most repugnant and misguided corners of American culture.
That's what he does, isn't it?
That's the most important, yeah.
That's what he did as Ali G very well, and he's also done it probably even better with Borat. He also did it with Bruno, which I found quite hilarious as well, which plays more on people's sort of homophobic tendencies and stuff. So that I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, I mean, some of it is, like you said, it's just repugnant. You just can't believe, that people harbour these kind of, when he's asking about how many gas cans do I need to gas the Jews and stuff. And the guy's like, oh, you probably need the bigger can for that. And you just think, huh. But this is the thing about Nazism and fascism that people need to remember, that the people in World War II that joined the Nazi party and became the worst people, they were just normal people. They were bus drivers, chicken farmers, shopkeepers. They weren't anything special to become Nazis. They were normal people. And I think, it's important for us to remember sometimes that, stupidity goes a long way, and people's ignorance can lead to very dangerous ideologies. And so he does a great job of exposing that, Sacha Baron Cohen. So I've always got time for him, but Borat was, it was a bit of a 5 on 10 rather than a higher end for me.
It's nice.
Well, there we go. As we say, check out the article on moremovies.co.uk and let us know what you think. Borat 2 in the comments below. And that's our movie of the week.
Okay, let's have another film review from Don Corleone. Take it away, Don.
Hello, this is Don Corleone with another film review for the Cinema Plus podcast. This week's film is called Capricorn 1. It's a science fiction adventure film with a moral tale attached. So you got these 3 astronauts, they're ready to go to Mars on a rocket. Just before liftoff, this Mamaluke lets himself into the capsule and tells them to follow him. So they leave the rocket and they're taken to a van that takes them out to a helicopter. And meanwhile, at Mission Control, everything is situation normal and the countdown continues. So the astronauts are taken then to a jet plane and they're quickly put on board before they can find out what's going on. Meanwhile, back at Cape Canaveral, the rocket is still taking off on its mission to Mars. Little does anybody know, there's nobody inside the spaceship. So the jet plane lands at Area 51, and the astronauts are let into a little secret that there is no mission to Mars. In fact, they're expected to just make believe and pretend they went there with this studio setup, a little bit like the Stanley Kubrick thing about the moon landing, So suffice to say, they're not very happy about that, so they steal the jet. They take off, lose a wheel on the way. Unfortunately, they have no fuel, so they have to crash land in the desert. There's not really much out there in the desert, so they decide to go their own separate ways, and hopefully they can make it out of there in time and let the world know what's going on, that the government is lying to them. There is no mission to Mars. Instead, there's just a mission to survive. Well, as you know, the government is very sneaky. They send out helicopters looking for these astronauts. This is a very dangerous time for them. This guy, he's gotta climb up a mountain. This guy's gotta walk down a hill. One way or another, the desert is a very, very tough place to survive. It's a bit like the Bronx. It You'll be very, very lucky to be able to last there longer than just a couple of hours. So there's this guy captured. And this guy, he's not looking too well. He hasn't had any food or water for a few days. Manages to find his way to a disused service station. Thinks he's safe, but yeah, you guessed it. Those helicopters are hot on his heels. Well, good old crowbar to the face for this guy, and boom. Wow. That's one way to make an exit. So run, Forrest, run. This guy just happens to see a biplane passing by. That's why they call him a biplane, see? So this guy says, come on, get a lift with us, fella. A couple of pot shots down the runway, but doesn't help, so they have to pursue him in the helicopters. This guy is hanging on for dear life. What an ordeal he's had. So, probably would have had more chance surviving a mission to Mars than he does in his own planet. Well, some of the cinematography involved here is very impressive. So this is the big finish of the film. There's a chase sequence between the two helicopters and the red biplane. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of stunt performance going on here. Most impressive. So anyway, they smoke the helicopters out, and yeah, you guessed it. Bada bing, bada boom. No more helicopters. So the government holds a funeral for the men of Capricorn 1. But they didn't count on this guy surviving. Running in slow motion towards his own funeral. This guy is wondering what's gonna happen to him next. So that's the end of the story, and the moral of the tale is never trust the government. They'll always lie to you. I give this film 1, 2, 3, 4 Corleones out of a possible 5. I hope you can join me again for another film review. Until then, goodbye.
Thanks for that, Don. Quite a revealing little tale there, really.
Yeah, that's one of those classics. Another Peter Hyams film there, Capricorn 1. You never know what the government's going to do to you.
They're out to get us.
And now it's time for movie news. And due to the recent sad events of Sean Connery passing away, we thought we'd use this section to do a tribute to everybody's favourite 007. Now, Dave, I suddenly remembered my Charlemagne. May my army be the rocks and the trees and the birds in the sky. There's a legend has gone. An era has ended, my friend.
That's it. An icon of the screen gone away, 90 years old. So a long, good life there. You know,
it's good age. Good age.
It is. It's not bad.
But a good innings, as we say in the UK.
Good innings in the cricket. But it's a tremendous career and a tremendous lifetime. I'm sure everyone agrees that he's had a tremendous cultural impact on multiple generations, really.
Sure.
And it was just kind of, I guess, out of the blue. It was the shock, really, kind of waking up to Sean Connery passing away. And but you know, it's, as we always say, it's better to remember the fantastic contributions they made, and
sure,
what a hell of a lot of contributions he's made to the movie industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, when anybody thinks of James Bond, really, they're thinking of Sean Connery. Even the youngsters, I think, you know, I mean, everybody knows the original is the best, and I think it's generally accepted he was, you know, the best James Bond, as they say. Whether he's your favourite or not, you have to say, well, Sean started it all off. And yeah, I think he did a great job of getting out of that stereotype of being James Bond as well in his career after 007. Obviously, there's a couple of strange years in the 70s there where he did some strange films like Stardust and stuff like that. But, you know, bit by bit, gradually, I think he managed to show his acting chops and show that he could be, you know, he had quite a good range, actually, and he was not just a tough guy or a super spy. He could actually play a good part if he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he played paupers, he played kings, he played criminals, he played spies. He really went to town on such a variety of roles over the years, in a variety of genres, really. So I think that's kind of the huge effect that he's had on everyone. That everyone has a favourite, and possibly a different favourite that they know him from.
Yeah.
And for different generations, that's a different thing. You know,
Well,
those who grew up in the 60s will remember him as Bond. The kids of the 80s will know him as Indiana Jones's dad. You know,
well, that's it. I certainly knew him as Indiana Jones's dad.
And who's gonna come to save you, Junior? I told you! Don't call me Junior.
And also, like Highlander, stuff like that. He was playing these sort of supporting roles, but he made his own path with it. The Untouchables is another one. The Chicago Way.
At the end of the day, we won the award, the Best Supporting Actor award for that.
Yeah.
You know, and stole the limelight really from Kevin Costner and Robert De Niro, which is quite a feat to do.
Yeah.
He sends one of yours to the hospital. You send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago Way.
You know, and great films, Hunt for Red October.
Oh, that's excellent as well. I really love that one.
One of my favourite films as a kid was The Rock. That's what I always kind of remember him from.
Well, this is it. We were talking about this the other day, how good an action movie and what a lot of fun The Rock is. And it's all down to Sean, really. He's such a great character in that. Plays that former SAS operator who's been kept in a cell and left to rot in Alcatraz for years, and then they've got him somewhere else. And then they need him, of course. A bit of a political film itself, really, because it shows that, they've got this political prisoner in a way that, he's special forces, so they've kept him in a darkened cell. But then when trouble breaks out, they need him. And yeah, he just plays an excellent role in that, I think.
Welcome to The Rock.
That's it.
Welcome to the Rock.
Yeah, really cool. And Nicolas Cage is obviously having a lot of fun acting alongside him there. So that was a good matchup then of those two, I thought.
And, he did a tremendous thing, breaking out of Bond and going and starring in Marnie, which was the Hitchcock film. It's kind of broke away from the typecast. And, yeah, he did a tremendous job of moving away from being known as Bond and went and did so many different things. The Man Who Would Be King.
Yeah.
It just... tremendous career and tremendous impact.
It goes to show as well the millions of people that have joined in paying tributes to him online and are equally as shocked as us. He obviously holds a firm place in people's hearts for his movie career as an actor. And, we've lost another legend.
That's it. An icon gone. But we'll raise a martini for you tonight, sir.
It'd be a vodka
Shaken,
martini. Shaken.
not stirred.
Let's get ready to film fight!
Okay, put your dukes up, buddy. It's time for the film fight. This week we are talking about Star Trek.
Space, the final frontier.
Now, Star Trek is adored by millions, probably the most successful sci-fi franchise, certainly on television. They've done a lot of movies and stuff as well. Got a huge following. Usually rubs off against people that like Star Wars. It's usually like you either like Star Wars or you like Star Trek or you like the Beatles or you like the Stones. Hey people, why not like both? I do. So anyway, I'm a fan of Star Trek, but my friend and esteemed colleague here, Mr. David Trump, is not such a fan. So we're going to give him 1 minute at the sound of the bell to tell us why he hates Star Trek. Go.
Okay, so yeah, I mean it's a strange one really because I do like sci-fi in some elements anyway. I like Doctor Who, I like Star Wars. I'm obviously a huge Star Wars fan, but Star Trek's just one of those franchises that for some reason it's never resonated with me. I always saw it in a way kind of like those old sci-fi movies from the 50s. And I was kind of like, oh, it's just cheesy, rubbish old sci-fi. And I think that kind of has stayed with me throughout the years. And so I've never really given it the chance, maybe, that some people would say it deserves. But, you know, I've always felt like it was these cheesy alien costumes. And when you come up with like big outlandish ideas and you haven't got the budget for the special effects, I always find it's a cocktail for disaster. But I also when I have seen parts of it, I've always thought it was very slow and boring, monotonously paced show or movies that it's just like lots of people giving monologues about their righteous beliefs going around the universe and stuff like that.
And that's it. That's your minute over.
It's my time.
Well stated. You stated your case. Now let's take another minute on the clock. Get ready for round 2, and I will respond to your comments. Okay, so cheap costumes, low budget, and you mentioned Doctor Who. Get the hell out of here. Doesn't stand up. I mean, Star Trek it's a really, obviously it started on television. It wasn't very popular when it started out. It sort of gained more popularity later on. But it was so forward thinking in many ways. It was the first interracial cast where you had Nichelle Nichols and people like George Takei who were cast in lead roles really, or in main parts. You had the first interracial kiss between Nichelle Nichols and William Shatner on TV, which was like a major thing, you know. So they were very forward thinking in a lot of ways. The whole idea of the Star Trek universe, obviously it is based in our world, planet Earth, but obviously in the future. And they envisage a future where the world is kind of like globalized and we're all just one planet, because we've obviously gone out and we're going to places no one has ever gone before, and the world has become a much smaller place, which is happening in reality. In a sense, we are becoming a globalized planet. But it just brought people together. It showed a future where we didn't need money, that science was key, you know, to understanding things and to helping our knowledge and a unity throughout the world. And it just stood for a lot of great things. I mean, what they say is every odd-numbered Star Trek movie is rubbish. Every even-numbered movie is great. So, you know, you've got the Wrath of Khan, The Voyage Home, a lot, you know, The Undiscovered Country. These are a lot of fun Star Trek movies. And there's the bell. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for Star Trek, I think. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I can understand that, because compared to something like Star Wars, is very black and white. It's very good versus evil. There's lots of laser swords and blasters and spaceships. Whereas Star Trek, it tends to look into things a little bit more. It tends to be a little bit more philosophical. And a lot of movies, of the Star Trek movies, they deal with things like, you know, the meaning of life. Because these people who work for the Federation, a lot of them are supposed to be Earthlings. You know, there's this kind of, in a sense, it's a progression of us as people of the Earth, rather than we come from some far away place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's, you know.
Well, if you want to know the meaning of life, you just have to ask Monty Python. They told us that years ago.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Well, it's nothing very special. Try and be nice to people, avoid eating fat, read a good book every now and then, get some walking in, and try and live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, the cheap costumes Doctor Who thing, but I guess that when I say Doctor Who, I really do mean the newer Doctor Who's, because I don't like the old Doctor Who's either, in a way, really.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. But, yeah, I don't know, it's I can appreciate it. It's got a huge impact on society. And on culture. It did some amazing things. You say, you talk about the interracial cast and the interracial kiss and stuff. Absolutely made some huge leaps and bounds and important milestones in television and movie history. It obviously influenced so many people in fields of technology and in the fields of cinema and stuff like that, to go and make things that wouldn't be made really without it being there. So I can absolutely appreciate that.
Well, you know, for example, like when they used to do that thing, they'd flip the communicator out to the beam up, and that kind of turned into the flip phone. Yeah. And we actually had it, you know. So there was lots of things that have happened in our culture that people say, oh, it's like Star Trek. They don't say it's like Star Wars. They say it's like Star Trek, and this is the argument for it, that it is representative of the human race rather than just humanoid characters throughout space, you know.
Well, I always kind of felt like it's something like if you look at the deck of the Enterprise, and it's this really clinical kind of super clean, almost like a fucking doctor surgery or something. And that to me was like the clean world in the Star Wars prequels, which is the same thing we criticised the prequels for.
Yeah,
not
but if
having
you went
world
on
feel.
the bridge of the USS Enterprise, the American battleship, it would be surgically clean. If there was crap all over the place, somebody'd be getting thrown in the brig, because it's representative of a military, or well, not so much military, but certainly a scientific operation. So it's no surprise that it's supposed to be clean.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know. I've
you
always
just like
thought,
things dirty. You just want things to be
I do.
dirty.
I do. Well, I've always just thought it visually didn't appeal to me. It always seems slow, and it's just one of them ones that I never, took off for me. Whenever I've kind of played a game of it or watched a film of it or whatever, it's never latched onto me. Something like Star Wars latched onto me the moment I kind of watched it, and I was forever in love, and that just never has had that pull for me.
Okay, well, let's draw a line under it there. That's it for Star Trek, and one day I'm going to force you to sit down and watch every movie with me from start to finish, and hopefully make a convert of you. But until then, all I can say is, Khan! Live long and prosper.
So now it's time for the film quiz, that part of the show where we ask some questions of Greg. This week, of course, it's a more politically themed quiz, and so feel free to join in and let us know your scores in the comments below, but no cheating, okay? So we've got a bit of a mix of everything for Greg this week in the questions, so are you ready?
Yes, I am, Mr. President.
Okay, let's start off with Air Force One, question number 1. Which actor portrays President Richard Nixon in the 1995 film Nixon?
That is one of the finest actors to have ever walked the earth, and he is from Wales, and his name is Anthony Hopkins.
That's right, Anthony Hopkins.
Cymru am byth.
Okay, number 2. Which actor portrays the president who forcefully and single-handedly overpowers the terrorists who hijack and begin assassinating passengers aboard Air Force One?
Okay, I know this one. This is an actor he likes to point a lot when he's angry. His name's Harrison Ford.
It is Harrison Ford, of course. Get off my plane.
The classic line.
Get off my plane.
Okay, number 3. Which actor who played former President Richard Nixon in the movie version of Frost Nixon?
Was that Frank Langella?
It is Frank Langella.
He was brilliant in that Trial of the Chicago 7, wasn't he?
He was,
as the
yes.
judge. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Check out Dave's review of it on moremovies.co.uk. Brilliant film. Frank Langella
Absolutely
is ace.
smashing film. Okay, question number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Which actor played President Abraham Lincoln in Steven Spielberg's Lincoln from 2012?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis, of course. Great performance. Okay, the next 3 questions are plots. So I'm going to read you a line, which is the summary of a plot of a film, and you just got to tell me what you think the film is. Okay, number 5. In October 1962, the world stood on the brink of an unthinkable catastrophe. Across the globe, people anxiously awaited the outcome of a harrowing political, diplomatic, and military confrontation that threatened to end in an apocalyptic nuclear exchange between the United States and the Soviet Union.
13 Days.
13 Days.
It's a great film, that.
Really great film.
Really good.
Okay, number 6. This political satire takes a darkly comical look at the government missteps, damage control, scheming functionaries, and the media amid the threat of war. It's drawn from the relations between Britain and the United States before the 2003 invasion of Iraq.
No, I'll pass on that one. I don't know.
That was In the Loop.
Ah.
which is the film spin-off of The Thick of It, of course. With Peter
Oh,
Capaldi.
yeah, I haven't seen The Thick of It. I haven't seen this film spin-off either, but...
Don't ever call me fucking English again.
Okay, number 7.
Mm-hmm.
The rise and fall of a corrupt politician who makes his friends richer and retains power by dint of a populist appeal.
I don't know. That could be a lot of films, to be honest. There's not a single one that is popping into my head that I could say. Can't even have a guess, to be honest.
So that was All the King's Men.
All the King's Men, there we go. Not seen it.
Yeah, it's from 1949. I think they did a remake in 2006. Okay, the next 3 are our favourite, The Images. So I've got 3 stills for you.
Should just point out, if you're listening on audio version on the podcast, you can jump over to YouTube and see what's going on here.
Absolutely. And we kick things off with image for question number 8.
That is Reese Witherspoon, by the look of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what film it is, though. I don't know. Pass.
Okay, that was the film Election from 1999.
Oh, damn, yeah.
Okay, number 9.
There's George Clooney there. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman. Don't know what film it is, though. The American President?
No, it's The Ides of March from 2011, the Netflix film.
To my shame, I never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's got Ryan Gosling in it as well, who plays one of the lead roles. Okay, and number 10.
Oh, that's All the President's Men.
All the President's Men, yeah,
Robert
1976.
Redford, I do know that one. Good film, that.
Absolute classic.
There's the Alan J. Pakula Political Paranoia trilogy that is, I believe, includes Clute, All the President's Men, and The Parallax View. And you can read about all 3 of these films on our website at moremovies.co.uk. Some 3 great articles there written by our friend Lyndon. So go and check those out.
Absolutely fantastic reviews of some great films. But there we go.
That's it.
I feel pretty good.
I didn't do too well this week, I feel.
6 out of 10. That's pretty good.
That's okay. It's not bad. It's enough to.
Not too bad.
It's not a landslide, but it's enough to. It's enough to win the election.
There we go. That was the movie quiz. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll have more questions for you all next week.
Okay, now it's time for our top 5, and this week is obviously a politically themed show because of the American general election. So we've gone with our top 5 political films. So starting straight off, number 5, I've got Salvador by Oliver Stone. It's got James Woods in it. It's about a reporter that goes down to El Salvador during all that trouble. They sort of had a military coup in the late 70s with some, rotten meddling from the US government, as always seems to happen in Central America. So, that's what I put as my number 5 choice.
I've not actually seen Salvador.
Oh, mate, it's a really difficult film to watch because it's, it's Oliver Stone, so it pulls no punches.
Yeah, so for my number 5, I went with quite an old film now, but it was kind of one of the first big political films, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Okay, not seen it myself.
With the great Jimmy Stewart. It's kind of the film that broke him, into big stardom. Frank Capra classic.
Yeah.
It's, of course, the story of a newly elected senator with all these kind of idealistic intentions, and he gets to Washington and finds out that it's all corrupt, and all the senators are in it for their own gain, and so he kind of tries to battle the system in a way. Great film, really kind of ahead of its time. Not liked by many in power back then, for obvious reasons. But the speech he gives at the end in the Senate is absolutely tremendous performance, and I think that's what made people go, "Oh, Jimmy Stewart, what an actor!"
Three of them in his room the day I went up to see him. Senator, you, sir, I will not yield.
Okay, for number 4, I put Elvis and Nixon. You ever seen that? It's got Kevin Spacey plays President Nixon. Michael Shannon plays Elvis. even though Michael Shannon's like not the type at all to look like Elvis, but he does an amazing job because it's about this famous meeting that they both had. I don't know if you've ever seen the famous photograph, we'll put it up now, of Elvis and Nixon meeting in the White House. You've got this, the king of rock and roll.
Very famous, yeah.
Who at this point is kind of at the twilight of his career, really. At the start of the 70s, he's kind of, he's not... after the hippie counterculture and stuff like that, Elvis is kind of a bit old hat, so he goes a bit off the chain, really, or off the reservation in a way. And the film purports that he's like, he wants to become this undercover agent for the FBI, and he wants President Nixon's blessing on it all to become this secret undercover agent that's going to get rid of all of America's political enemies and communists and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a comedy, really. It's obviously all made up in terms of the meeting that the two have in the Oval Office there, but it's a bloody funny film. It's really good little watch, and Michael Shannon is excellent in it as the king.
Brilliant. I had to give that a watch. That sounds brilliant.
You'd enjoy it. It's a good laugh. It's quite hilarious, so worth checking out. What did you have at number 4, mate?
I went with JFK, the Oliver Stone movie.
Classic.
Which I love. Since the moment I watched it, I really love it. The JFK conspiracies are almost one of the most fun, in a way, conspiracies, because there's so many different interpretations of what could have happened that day. So to kind of present it on film is great, and Oliver Stone does a great job here. It's that mix of reenactment and documentary footage and the courtroom drama and
brilliant ensemble
Kevin
cast.
Costner's life. Yeah, great cast. Costner, Tommy Lee Jones, Kevin Bacon, Gary Oldman,
John Candy,
all giving great performances. And really the kind of pinnacle of the piece is the stuff that happens in the courtroom and the great speech that Costner gives about the American people. Do not forget your dying king. It's just electric, really. And
classic
does hit
Stone.
the goosebumps. Yeah, absolutely classic Stone.
Do not forget your dying king.
Okay, number 3, I got War Games. Do you remember that? Matthew Broderick.
Oh, War Games.
That's
yes.
a bit of a classic, isn't it? Like a young whiz-bang kid that's got a really powerful computer ends up hacking into the national defense system and ends up triggering this AI where they have to basically beat the computer, otherwise there's going to be nuclear annihilation. And very silly, very, very much an 80s movie, really, but great fun all the same.
How about a nice game of chess?
So for number 3, I've gone with another Oliver Stone, and that's Nixon.
Excellent film.
Excellent film. We mentioned earlier Anthony Hopkins in the lead role.
Mm-hmm. Again, another great ensemble cast. You got James Woods, which we mentioned. We got Powers Booth in there. You got Bob Hoskins, Sam Waterston. It's just
Ed Harris.
Yeah.
E.G. Marshall, who was in 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
At the twilight of his career there,
and just such a great performance from Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, tremendous. Absolute tremendous performance. And it's such an epic film with such huge scope in what it's storytelling.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, we'll come back to that one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, I had The Parallax View, which has also been mentioned, the Alan J. Pakula paranoia political film. Warren Beatty in I think his best role of all his films. It's my favourite Warren Beatty film. Obviously loosely based around the assassination, I think, of Bobby Kennedy, because of that whole the assassination at the start, and there's a waiter that shoots him, and it's a bit like the Manchurian Candidate in a sense that it's brainwashed for political assassinations. And yeah, if you haven't seen The Parallax View, stop what you're doing in your life, stop the car, get out, get back home and watch that movie, because it's just superb.
Brilliant choice.
What do you have at number 2?
I, funnily enough, went with The Manchurian Candidate. 1962.
Frank Sinatra.
There's, of course, the remake from 2004 with Denzel Washington.
I haven't seen that.
But I think the original's the best.
Often is
just
the case.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra, Lawrence Harvey, Janet Leigh, and the great Angela Lansbury, of course.
Yeah, Jessica Fletcher herself.
Don't go visit her village; you'll die.
Political murder, she wrote.
It's just neo-noir political thriller. It's
some people don't realise what a great actor Frank Sinatra was as well, and I'd argue he was just as good an actor as he was a singer, and he was obviously one of the best singers.
Absolutely, great films back then that they were all in.
Yeah.
Even the serious stuff. Obviously he did all the musical number films, but there's some great serious films they were involved in as well.
Yeah, I think he won an Oscar for Man with a Golden Arm, and one of my favourite Frank Sinatra performances was Von Ryan's Express. Great World War II movie.
Great film.
But that's a good choice there for number 2. So for number 1, I'll just get this out of the way. I chose Nixon as number 1. That's why I said we'll come back to it. It's just, for me, it's the greatest American political film. It's also the greatest Oliver Stone political film. I mean, I love JFK. I like W as well. I thought that was very good. But for me, Nixon was the one. It's just such a bloody good film. And I think Oliver Stone himself it was a box office flop. And you can see why, because who wants to go and see that? You know what I mean? A lot of people, your general movie-going public, they want to go and see Tango and Cash. They don't want to go and see Nixon. You know what I mean? They want to go and see Baby Driver or something like that, but they're not interested in this type of film. So it was an absolute flop, but I thought it was his best work, and Anthony Hopkins is fantastic in it.
Yeah, it is an absolutely tremendous film, and it's one of them because I think it's a long film and it is quite a dry subject matter. That if you're not interested in the story of Nixon, you're not going to like this film. Basically,
I think it's very much like a Shakespeare play. It's like Richard III or something. It's a character study of this man, and what makes him tick and his motivations and the sacrifices he has to make to become what he is, and his best intentions going awry. I just love it. I think it's a really, really interesting film about probably up until recently the most controversial American president to have ever sat in office.
Yeah, I think post World War II he's the most fascinating political. I think still now, you even forget Trump. I mean, he's still the most fascinating political
Trump's
leader.
nothing compared to Nixon. You want an evil president?
No.
You go to Nixon. Trump's just a joker compared to that.
At the end of the day, the effects of the Nixon administration are still being felt now.
Yeah.
So it's such an important part of history.
I'll tell them what the hell you like. I don't care. They don't understand anyway.
Go on then, hit me. What did you have as your number 1 political film?
Yeah, so not my number 1. I've gone for something a bit different, I think. I actually went with Citizen Kane.
Oh, interesting.
Which some people would necessarily not call Citizen Kane a political film necessarily but in reality, it is a very political film.
All films are political.
They are.
All films.
But, of course, the film is embroiled in the very politics we see today.
Yeah.
Kane himself in the film runs for governor. He's involved in the high levels of newspapers, owning the magnates and stuff.
Based on William Randolph Hearst, a real-life character.
Of course.
And the subject of, you're going to say...
The new movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mank.
Coming out on Netflix in December.
God damn, that looks good.
Mank, it looks brilliant.
I can't wait for that.
But, the film is about, the confidence in the newspapers, the corruption, the politics of it all, the scandals of the lives and stuff. That's everything that we talk about that's wrong with politics today, that we see as a problem, that was being talked about back then, and it was still a problem back then, and it's not changed. They all saw it back then, and of course, the film itself, in terms of being a production, in terms of a story, is a masterpiece, as we all know,
There we go. That's the top 5 this week. Let us know your top 5 political films in the comments. Get in touch, let us know, see what you think, tell us what you thought of ours, see if we missed anything out, if you've got anything better. Please, get in touch. Okay, now we go to shorts and shout-outs, where we like to talk about short films and independent cinema, because we like that sort of stuff too, and give shout-out to our friends in the film Twitter community. So what have you got this week? What have you been watching short film-wise?
Yeah, so I came across a short film by Mo Gorgistani from 2014. Okay. He's an American-Iranian director.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful little piece called Refuge. It tells the story of a girl called Sonia. She's an Iranian immigrant and journalist, and she runs a blog. But there's a huge Iranian cyber attack on the US government that occurs, hitting all the infrastructure, which then also there's like a hack of the immigration database, which calls into question, are people's green cards valid and stuff like this.
Got you.
And there's lots of kind of jingoistic government officials on board going, oh, this, you know, we need to now check out all these immigrants that are in the country kind of thing. And of course, this young girl, Sonia here, she gets a letter saying, oh, we've got to come in and we need to have a chat kind of thing. So obviously there's this great anxiety for her about what's going to happen and, you know, how her life is and stuff and the struggles she goes through. Cool. So yeah, really great little piece that's obviously very current and very on the point at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, reflects the kind of some of the political tropes that you know, in the system at the moment, and a really well put together film, beautifully shot, really beautifully shot, and a really great performance. And yeah, we'll put a link in the description below to go check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. I'll be checking that out myself. Really good. Well, I was actually looking at a short form documentary. It's only 14 minutes long, directed by someone called Kelsey Moore. It's called Shelter in Place, and it's about a young lady from Honduras and her 2 young daughters that are actually asylum seekers in the US. So they're actually sheltering in a church in Salt Lake City. So basically, this is a story about them, about their struggles to try and get citizenship in the United States. I mean, you know, the whole thing, send us your poor, bring us your poor, and all that stuff seems to have gone out the window during the Trump administration, because, you know, let's close the borders, let's put up a wall, let's lock children in cages, etc. and stuff. So it's kind of a hot potato at the moment, what they're doing with people who are trying to seek asylum for very good reasons. And I mean, you know, it's basically just, you know, a little bit of time in the life of these people, how they're living. They're kind of, in a sense, in prison in this church. It's better than being, you know, on the border in a cage. But, you know, she keeps applying for citizenship. One of the daughters, I think, is a genuine American citizen because she was born there. But she's been denied twice already. And it's just about the troubles that they're going through to try and get citizenship, and also set against what they've, you know, come from in Honduras, which is, you know, as you may know, is a country that's rife with corruption and violence. It's, you know, the murder rate there is one of the highest in the world. It's that country that sort of coined the phrase banana republic, so they've had a lot of trouble with coup d'etat and American, you know, meddling over the years. So anyway, we'll put a link in the description to see that film as well. I do advise you watch it and see some stories about real people and what they're going through. You know, it helps us all understand the situation really a little better. And if we can educate ourselves, then, you know, we kill the hatred in the world, and hopefully we grow a little bit more love and understanding.
Absolutely, sounds very powerful, and yeah, I'll go check it out for sure, and recommend people do. It's always important to see these kind of documentaries, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the powers of documentary, whether it be, you know, feature length or short form. I think, you know, to tell people's stories, you know, that's one of the best uses of it, really. But yeah, that's our short films this week. Obviously, we'd just like to give a shout out to our friends in the film Twitter community. Thanks for your likes, your retweets, and your inspiring posts that we love to look at and share ourselves. So thanks Skip Bolden, thanks Reconsidering Cinema, Tico Romeo, Liam Jackson, and everybody else over there at the film Twitter community. Stay cool, guys. Medication time, Dave. I think you're going to need some hydroxychloroquine. Whether they're the red pills or the blue pills, I don't know. But this week, in honor of our fallen brethren, Sir Sean Connery, we've got a Bond-themed red pill, blue pill. So,
excellent.
When you're ready, we will begin.
Ready and waiting. Bring it on.
Okay. Goldfinger or The Man with the Golden Gun?
Ooh, Man with the Golden Gun.
Spectre or Skyfall?
Skyfall.
GoldenEye or For Your Eyes Only?
GoldenEye.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service or Moonraker?
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
The Aston Martin DB5 or the Lotus Esprit?
It's got to be the Aston Martin, hasn't it?
Drax or Elliot Carver?
Drax.
Ejector seat or a good turret machine gun in your headlights?
Oh, it's got to be a good turret machine gun in your headlights,
I don't
hasn't
know.
it?
Some people do prefer an ejector seat, but there you go. A View to a Kill or The Living Daylights?
A View to a Kill.
Diamonds Are Forever or Tomorrow Never Dies?
I'm actually going to go with Tomorrow Never Dies. I always enjoyed that as a kid.
Jaws or Jaws? Who would you rather get bit by?
Well, one's a great white bloody shark, so I'll go with Jaws.
Okay. Which Jaws you went for there, I guess we'll find out afterwards. New Q or old Q?
I'll go with old Q.
Damn right you will. Desmond Llewellyn all the way. Okay, Judi Dench or Ralph Fiennes?
Judy, of course. The Queen.
Thunderball or Never Say Never Again? Never, never, never say never again.
Well, I'd have to go Thunderball just because
they're the same film. They are the same film.
Yeah,
essentially. Yeah. Okay, License to Kill or Casino Royale?
Casino Royale.
What? Get out! It's License to Kill's the best Bond film. Live and Let Die or Dr. No?
Dr. No.
Boat Chase or Car Chase?
I'll go with Boat Chase based on that. The Boat Chase is my favourite of all the chases from Crazy
From
one.
Live and Let Die. Yeah, I know the one you
Live and Let Die, yeah.
Okay, skiing or scuba diving?
Scuba diving.
I think he got the point. Or Compliments of Sharky.
I think he got the point.
Okay, bit of Connery there. Zorin or Le Chiffre?
Le Chiffre.
What? You don't like Zorin? What's the matter with you? Okay, George Lazenby or Timothy Dalton? I swear to God, if you pick George Lazenby, I'm going to shoot you with a wall for PPK.
Well, I do like Lazenby, but I'd have to go with Dalton because Dalton's a legend.
And Dalton's Welsh. Dalton's the Welsh Bond.
Wow, yeah.
Daniel Craig or Pierce Brosnan? Pierce Brosnan is, of course, Irish.
I do love Brosnan, but I'll go with Craig.
Quantum of Solace or Octopussy?
Quantum of Solace.
You only live twice. Or From Russia with Love.
Well, From Russia with Love is the greatest Bond film ever, so it's From Russia with Love, of course.
No, I've just told you it was License to Kill. You're not listening.
Wow.
Okay,
wow.
And to finish us off this week, there's the big question everybody wants to know about Bond. Is it Roger Moore or is it Sean Connery?
It's Sean Connery. Of course it is.
Of course it is.
So we had some fun last week doing some impressions of horror movie characters, so thought we'd take a stab at it again this week and see if we can do some impressions of American presidents and see how well we can do. So I'll just throw one at you, Greg, and see if you can do it, and then you can throw one back at me, I guess.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, go on.
Let's kick things off with George Bush.
We got an old saying in Texas. Fool me once, shame on you. You fool me once, you can't get fooled again.
I always thought Bush was like...
That was meant to be his son. I don't know if you got that. It's like, this was the younger Bush. But
of course. I always thought Bush was like a bad De Niro impression. You know, just like kind of...
Hey, come to the Oval Office, sir.
What's going on?
He was a moron. He was a moron, but compared to Donald Trump, he looks like, a genius. Okay, Dave, I want you to do, for me, your best in movie impression of the great President Barack Obama.
I am Barack Obama, the President of the United States.
That's really good, man.
It's something like that.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
He has that weird timbre to his voice.
Did you see that thing in the week where he shot that basket and he just basically from the sideline and he just swished it and he's like, "That's what I do." Everyone was like, "Yeah."
He is the coolest president they've ever had, isn't he? You know, it's like
have we never missed a president more internationally? Okay, go on then. Hit me with another one.
Oh, go on then. Give us Nixon.
I'm not a crook. And in the Oliver Stone film with Anthony Hopkins playing him, he's hilarious. Some of the lines in that, he's like, "A man was a goddamn sucker, buddy." How about giving us a little bit of your Donald Trump again there?
Donald Trump. It's fake news, everybody. We're going to build a wall. The Mexicans are going to pay for it. Okay? Just don't believe it. Whatever they say.
Huge.
Tremendous.
Huge.
Tremendous. Huge.
China.
Or you can do old Trump, which is, "You're fired."
You're fired. Go.
Yeah. Hopefully he has been by now. We don't know. We're recording this before the results of the election have come in. Please get rid of him. Okay. Any more? Any more for any more?
Oh, why don't you give us your JFK?
Okay, best JFK. Ask not what your movie can do for you, but what you can do for your movie.
Thanks, John.
What about, what's his name? The most famous of all American presidents, because he was an actor as well, Ronald Reagan.
Those damn commies. Let me tell you a story about the Soviet Union. I was in Russia.
He loved to tell his stories, old Ronnie, didn't he?
Oh, he loved his stories
his
about
jokes.
Russia.
Remember that one?
Anything about the commies.
I'm paying for this microphone.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr.
Yeah. Failed on nuclear proliferation. Him and Gorbachev could have got rid of the world's, or at least a good portion of the world's nuclear arsenal, and failed to do so. But once again, as bad as he was, and a son of a bitch that he was, we miss him now after having Trump in office.
Yeah, it seems like
Just
one of the most
when
reasonable...
you thought your presidents couldn't get any worse, this is going to be huge.
The biggest movie show ever.
I think there we've run dry of the well there. We're not going to get anything else. Well, it's over Broadway, my friend. Looks like we're wrapped for another movie show.
Been fun as always. We'll see what happens in the coming days about the election. By the time this is out, it'll be over. So,
well, will it be over? Possibly, with all this COVID this year, and the people have had to vote by mail. There is a school of thought that they're going to be counting votes for a long time to come.
Who's president of the United States in 1985?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
You got to get rid of him. Democracy's got to make a comeback. Come on, America. You're the apart from us, the British, who of course invented democracy.
You pompous, stuck-up, snot-nosed, English, giant, twerp, scumbag, face head, asshole.
You are the main democratic country in the world. You've got to take it back.
Reclaim the phrase, "Make America Great Again."